Yo, what's going on, Steel Nation? Steel Cypher here, and a couple days ago, my buddy hit me up and he asked, "Hey man, would you draft Baker Mayfield?" And I thought about it, and I decided this would be a really cool video to put out because it gives my analysis on one of the most polarizing players in this upcoming draft and one of the most talked about quarterbacks in the last couple drafts. And to start off, I'm going to simply answer the question. No, I would not draft Baker Mayfield due to some of the incidents on the field and the incidents that happen off the field. His maturity just isn't there for me, and that scares me. So, to pretty much support what I mean by this, I'm going to talk about some of the issues and kind of put my ideas and my thought process on these issues. So the first issue that really stood out for me was when Baker Mayfield got arrested before the season started. So after reading multiple articles and really piecing things together, he was arrested for public intoxication and running from the police. So the backstory for this is he was out drinking with his buddies, he was going out and partying, and the cops had shown up while he was walking home to his dorm, and they showed up and he ran. So now here's the thing, he was 21, so he can legally drink, and the only time you get charged with public intoxication like this is when you do run from the police. Usually they don't charge you with it unless you run. And the most they're going to do if you don't run is put you in drunk tank until you are sobered up. So, to me, when I see this, why are you running? You're 21 years old, you're a polarizing player, you're an important piece to this team, and you're still drinking near your college. The cops know who you are. So, why are you running? The only time I see a player like this running from the law is when you have something to hide. And he never states what he was doing at these parties. He never does, which is fine. I don't have a problem with the party. I'm a college student. I get it. You're going to go out and party. You're going to enjoy your life a little bit. But what further stands is on the idea of I don't know what he was doing is they never released his blood alcohol level, and he never released any drug tests that they had done on him. None of that information was put out to the public. So that kind of just bothers me as somebody who's been scouting Baker Mayfield all season. The next major issue that I've had was midway through the season when the games were really starting to matter for playoff contention and what seed you're going to be. Baker Mayfield goes to shake the hands of his opponent. His opponents don't shake his hand. He goes off to the sideline furious, grabs his crotch and says, "I'm going to remind you who your daddy is, and I'm going to spank that ass." Why? Baker, you are expected to be a leader and a role model for this team. And you're going and acting like a child on the sideline pulling these kind of shenanigans. You ended up getting suspended for the game and suspended for the next game. You nearly cost your team playoff contention and nearly cost them a good standing in the playoffs for the bowl games. So these kind of issues bother me. This just shows his maturity just isn't there as a player. The next major issue I want to talk about is the Senior Bowl, which this one we'll talk about the good and the bad because there was a lot of good and a lot of bad. So, for the Senior Bowl, you are asked to show up on Tuesday morning. Baker Mayfield showed up for practice, but didn't sign in until he got to practice at Tuesday evening. He showed up for the practice late. Even though the Denver Broncos, John Elway, and their head coach, Vance Joseph, had requested to have Baker Mayfield on their team. So you have the opportunity to impress a team that has a top 10 pick and has been looking at you for quite some time, and you show up late. You are expected to show up on time. You are expected to be mature enough to show up on time and show up when you are told to. Because at the NFL level, if you don't show up on time for your meetings or for practices, they'll just send you home, and if it happens enough times, they're going to cut you. And that's when it becomes more noticeable. Now, Baker showed up late, but he still impressed during the Senior Bowl. He was throwing the ball with the best of them, really showing his arm talent, his ability to extend plays and make plays out of the backfield. So, this didn't really get much traction with some scouts. They're just like, okay, there's issues here, but his talent overshadows that. Until he ends up showing late. Or not late. He ends up leaving his Senior Bowl in the second half. He plays in the first half, he gets into the second half, and he starts taking off his gear and leaves. His reasoning was his mother was in the hospital and he wanted to go visit his mother, which I understand completely. As somebody who cares about their mom a lot and cares about their family, I get that. But then later reports came out that his mother was in the hospital, but only had bronchitis, which usually you just go to the hospital, they give you medication, and you're out of the hospital a couple hours later at most. So that was very questionable, and then later on there were no reports on if Baker Mayfield even went home. Because usually when there's a situation like this, a player is going to post on social media so that way people know, like, hey, I did show up here, my mom's doing alright. And that's just, there's no social media post that he did show up home, there's no post anywhere, no articles that he did show up at his mom's house or even at the hospital. So we don't know where Baker went after his Senior Bowl. And personally, as a former athlete and someone who has been in situations somewhat like this, not to this extent, if my mom was sick, yeah, I would want to go, but my mom would have freaked out if I had left my bowl game early for something as small as bronchitis. And these are issues that had really scared me with Baker Mayfield. I think he's a very talented quarterback, and I won't take that away from him. He is talented. Yes, he's a little bit on the smaller side, but there are smaller quarterbacks in the NFL today who are tearing this league apart. But Baker Mayfield doesn't have the maturity. He's more talented than Johnny Manziel by far. He's way more talented. His ways of throwing the ball are way better. His ability to make plays is superior, but he's just not there. He's not there maturity-wise, and he's going to end up ruining his career before he even gets started. This is a guy who needs to be shown what it's like to actually be a quarterback. And this is a guy I would not want as the face of my franchise. Everything that we saw, and if a NFL quarterback did this, it would be blown out of proportion. It would be blown up 100 times more than it would be with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's only a college student. If a professional quarterback does this, that would be the end of his career, right then and there. So, personally, I would not use the pick on Baker Mayfield, and I would not want him in my organization. But thank you guys for watching the video. If you like it, please hit the like button down below. Add it to your favorites. If you're new to the channel, press the subscribe button. And while you're at it, press that bell so you get all post notifications when my videos come out. And tell me down below in the comments, would you draft Baker Mayfield, or do Do you think that he's just not there as a NFL caliber quarterback? Thank you guys. It's been Steel Cypher, and let the steel forever be in your favor. I'll see you guys around.